So next we have from Outgrow, the co-founder Randy Rayess is coming up to speak, and what I love about his bio and his background, if you read it, is the word free. So who's not looking for great free tools and assets to use in our digital marketing, right? So with that said, Randy Rayess, please come on up to the stage, and thank you so much for being here.
All right, well, thanks everyone for coming out. I'm really excited to be here. So what I want to talk to you all about today is a marketing strategy that I think everyone in the audience should at least experiment with in the next 6 months. I know that's like a bold statement to make, but I hope that most marketers think about experimentation from the mindset of this is an interesting strategy, we should at least try it out. So I hope I can at least get you guys to that point through this talk. I'm going to focus on growth, and usually when I start talking about growth, people ask me, am I talking about traffic or conversion? And I'm going to focus more on the conversion side of the equation, but I also want to encourage you to think about conversion from a different perspective. Great conversion and great content that converts can also drive traffic. So that's an important point to note. So when most people think about conversion in today's marketing world, they think of landing pages, ebooks, blog posts, etc. But the thing is, all the types of content we create are generally static content, and they're generic. So if I go onto a blog post, it's the same blog post on every single that I see that every other person that lands on that blog post sees. And it's not really personalized interactive. And I want to explain why this change is important for us to experiment with and try out with this image. So if you guys look at this image here, and you look at the girl in this photo, how many people have been in this situation? Anyone has been in this situation where they're in a meeting? It could be business or personal. Okay, so a few of you. So just to be careful, most of the time, if you have never been in this situation before in your life, you are the guy in this photo. So I recommend being careful next time you find yourself talking for a while and not letting the other person get a word in. But I think it's a pretty safe bet that there probably wasn't a second date here, right? Like, I think that's something we can agree on. And it's pretty obvious when we look at it from a human-to-human, one-to-one kind of situation that if I'm speaking the whole time, that I'm not able to really interact with a person and personalize the type of content to what's relevant to the other person. But the question is, why have we been doing this as marketers for so long? Like, why do we accept to do this as marketers, but we don't accept to do this in a one-to-one standpoint? And I think the reason is that we are, marketing has always been like this, right? And the technology that allows us to do things in a more personalized, interactive way is younger, and it's newer, and it's really hard for us to implement it. But what I want to give you examples, I want to focus now on a few examples of companies that have done a really good job with this, and then kind of help you come up with some ideas for your businesses. So everyone's heard this example many, many times, so I'm only going to spend a few seconds on Amazon example. But Amazon, when you land on Amazon, it's different for every person, right? It gives you personalized recommendations based on your search history, based on what you browsed. We've heard this many times. But for some reason, we still don't, incorporate this in our own marketing. Okay, HubSpot. Has anyone heard of HubSpot? I'm sure a few of you. Yeah. So what does HubSpot do, right? They have a SEO and search and social media marketing software. And what they, the first thing you would do as a marketer is say, okay, they should write a blog post about how you can improve SEO and a blog post about how you can improve your social. And they did that. But they wanted to go one step further. They said a blog post about SEO, only a few points are going to be relevant to each person. They said, what if we just ask someone for their website and their email, and then based on their website, we will intelligently and quickly search through it on an automatic, programmatic way, and give them a grade, and then tell them specifically what you're doing well and what you're not doing well on your site. Now that's telling me specifically on my site what is wrong and what is good on my site. That's super useful. People started sharing this. This took off and did so well that marketers were, a lot of people were scared that their boss would see that they got a B- or a 50%. And so they started to, use it. And there's a funny thing about most people that we went through K through 12 education process, and we went through college knowing grades are important. And so you definitely want to get like an A and a higher grade. And so people are more, if you're responsible for SEO, you're more likely to do this. Now, I love this example, not just because this was super successful and turned out to be a great lead gen source for HubSpot, but HubSpot started to actually create teams where they put product and marketing and sales together to come up with these ideas, because it really does require a mix of skills to execute on this. IKEA created like a tool for you to kind of augment your apartment or home with furniture. And the problem they were trying to solve was they're like, most of our customers, when they're buying a piece of furniture online, they don't know how that piece of furniture is going to fit in their apartment and how it's going to look. So if we can allow them to kind of give them a personalized recommendation, okay, you want this specific piece of furniture and you want it in this specific room, we're going to tell you how it's going to look, how it's going to fit. And so now it gives you a much better experience. And again, IKEA provides this tool for free for everyone. You don't have to be an IKEA customer. The same way HubSpot provided their tool for free for everyone. It's mainly a marketing channel, a marketing campaign to help acquire and engage customers. Okay. Does anyone use any of Nike's digital apps? Yeah? So Nike, what I love about the Nike example is that about 5 or 6 years ago, Nike decided to experiment with this, similar to what I'm asking you guys to do. And their experiment was, we want to build applications to be part of the post-shoe purchase. So after you buy a shoe, what do you do with the shoe? You run, you train, you compete, and you might create groups and try to train for a marathon. They want to be part of that process. So Nike said, well, let's build applications for this, but we're going to track the cost to build the application, the cost to acquire the traffic on the apps, and compare that to the lift in lifetime value of our existing customers and the lifetime value of the new customers that are brought in through these apps. And this did so well for Nike, they were able to see that the ROI was so high that, if you guys remember, around 5 years ago, Nike made this one of their core kind of digital applications, a core focus for their business. And so this is kind of a really cool example of how they built personalization and interactivity into their whole strategy. And this is a consulting services example. So has anyone asked the question, how long or how much does it cost to build a piece of software? Any like application or mobile application software? Anyone ask that question? Okay, yeah, okay. So the usual reply you get is that this is give me a specification document. And we're gonna go back and forth for weeks to get an estimate. That's not a great experience for the customer. So instead here, you can ask 10 questions and look at this results page and how personalized and valuable it is for the end user. You're not just getting an estimate of this is about the cost of your mobile app. It's explaining to you that the cost of building mobile apps varies by geography based on the location of the talent. It also shows you how it varies by feature. And so you can see, oh, if I remove these 2 features, and if I move from X geography to Y geography, I can now get it within my budget, and I could actually do this. Or you could realize that this is totally not even relevant, there's no way you could do this within your budget. But that information and value that you get is an order of magnitude better than the alternative. And as a marketer, think about everything I've talked about from the marketing standpoint. So now I'm trying to urge you at the beginning now, really focus on how it's useful to your customers. But now imagine you're a marketer. You now ask them 10 questions and got their email to provide them with this recommendation. You've added a lot of value to them, but you have an extremely qualified lead. You know exactly what they want. They can click to post your project right there and post the project. And you're now going to sales and saying, hey, I'm not just telling you this guy wants to build an app. I'm telling you this guy wants to build this specific application, and they know that it's going to cost this much, and they're still interested. So that's a much more qualified lead. So the main thing is that customers want to be engaged with and not just sold to, which is the main change. And a lot of the time when people ask me the question that, why is it that marketers don't all do this? And the reason I think is that it's hard. It takes a lot of most marketers aren't developers, so they need to hire developers to build these things, right? You can't, to build personalized interactive tools. And I'm sure many of you know that marketers have a lot on their plate already, right? You guys don't want to add more things onto your plate and then interface with developers, so it's not easy to execute on, and that's why I think most marketers haven't done it. But I want to kind of go through two things. One is one is the ideas, how to come up with ideas, and then how to execute on them and actually build them out. So the first part is when you think about how do I come up with good ideas, just talk to your sales and customer support team. They are a gold mine. They have a gold mine of questions that they get on a daily basis. And every single question that they answer with "it depends," that they answer with "oh, this is complicated, this might require a call," those are great candidates for personalized interactive tools. Because that's when you can actually give them an immediate answer instead of the alternative, which is let's go back and forth for a while for me to figure this out. The second one I like is about what type of behavior do you want to incentivize in your most successful customers? Or what type of behavior do you want them to have? So let's say you have a software product, and you need, and there's two features that people aren't using as much of, but they're really important, and you think they'll get much better ROI on your product if they use them. So create for them a grader similar to HubSpot that tells them how well are you using our software, and then you can give them a score and explain to them, hey, you're only taking advantage of 40% of this tool. This other 40% or 60% that you're not using is really important because this is how it's going to add value to you, and this is how you're going to do it. So you're providing them with real-time insights specific to what they're currently using in your product and what they could use. Uber does this with their badges. They want to incentivize the drivers to have chargers and give snacks, and so they have badges for that, and Lyft does that, things like that. These are some small examples that are cool. Okay, the third thing is what is shared and searched in your industry. So has anyone heard of BuzzSumo? A couple of you, yeah. So BuzzSumo will tell you what's being shared in your industry. So if you see that a lot of people are sharing, if you're in sports, a lot of people are sharing about which athlete are you most like, or a popular example that we saw that had a few million shares was what is your true color aura or something. So whatever, if there's a lot of interesting ones that get shared a lot. If those quizzes or experiences are getting shared a lot, are relevant to your industry, then it might be, did I click something wrong? Oh, the newest Windows Media. That's funny.
I think we'll wait for that install.
Yeah. I love those timing. There's a good GIF online which shows, or GIF, whatever you have to say, which shows you how it says update your software, and then you click the down arrow, it says remind me tomorrow. Has anyone done that? And they say, and continue to do that every single day for the rest of your life. Remind me tomorrow, remind me tomorrow, remind me tomorrow. Okay. Anyway, side comment, but I didn't think it was timely. So, what is the most shared and most searched industry, right? So one of the things that's cool here that I like to do is just go on Google Suggestions. As you type on Google, it shows you suggestions. You can also do Google Trends and Google Keyword Planner, which is showing you what people search. And what's interesting is that for some industries, this works really well. Like we were talking to a solar company, and we put solar, and it's like payback period on solar panel, ROI on solar, changing my roof to solar panels, whatever. All these questions that you see that people are asking on Google are related to specifically what are my current electricity bills, what is the cost for me to cover my specific roof with the solar panels, and then how much am I going to save by doing that. And that type of content, you can easily kind of figure out what's relevant based on just using Google Suggestions and search. The last thing is what's controversial or kind of based on certain events. So an example here would be let's say you're an accountant, a new tax plan comes out, right? Like recently, you want to tell people, how does this new tax plan impact your tax bill? Based on your specific geography, income level, profession, number of kids, etc. So that's another great way to do that. Okay, so how do you build this? Okay, this is like a common question people will ask. You can, of course, if you have an in-house development team and they have bandwidth, you can do that. If they don't have bandwidth, you can outsource, or you can use a SaaS tool, like a software tool, like Outgrow. I'm biased because I'm part of the Outgrow team, so I will obviously say Outgrow is a great solution, but you can experiment and try different options. The main thing here is to try it out. Figure out a way to try it out and see how your audience reacts to it. Because sometimes you might start with, you look across the whole funnel and the whole customer journey, there's many different moments where you can engage with a customer with a free tool. Give them a free tool just to engage with them. So you really want to understand which moment makes the most sense for your customer. It might be multiple moments. And in that moment where it makes sense to engage with them with a free tool, what type of tool is most relevant for that situation? And that requires some experimentation. So I kept this part short because I want to engage with you, because that's what I was talking about, kind of easy. Okay, so and try to come up with ideas for your business, and trying to show you examples that I've seen be successful. So maybe we can start. People can share their industry and then anything else they're comfortable with, and then I can do my best to share examples that are relevant to your industry. You don't have to be, anyone can talk. And if you don't want to go into super detail about your company, that's fine. I'll do my best to what you can. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carla Shepard. I am a global webinar manager, and my industry is pharmaceuticals.
Perfect. And so within pharmaceuticals, is there a specific type of drug that you focus on?
No, so I work in a channel, so we will do all therapeutical areas.
All therapeutical areas?
Yeah.
And then can you give an example of the types of people that you target? So you...
Yeah, so we mostly focus on doctors because the regulation is so strict that only the US and New Zealand, because we work in global, right, can target direct to consumer.
Okay.
So the US currently does things like, commercials and TV spots and, Facebook, other markets, and not so good.
Sure, okay, my last question is around the value proposition. So when you go to talk to a doctor, what type of value do you try to highlight in terms of from your product? Is there a certain, like, this drug is cheaper, you don't have to take it as often? Is it the effect rates based on clinical trials for your drug versus other drugs? Like, what are the types of things?
So it depends on the product, right? Because,
That's
depending on
true.
the competition too,
Totally.
so I think it can vary. But I think ultimately it's about, providing the doctor with the most insight into our drug, and then ultimately show them that our products are at least better than the competition.
Right, yeah. So this is a great example for, this wasn't planted at all. You can answer afterwards. But so what I like about this example is that when you look at the doctor, so what I like to do first here is I look at the doctor and I say, okay, there are many different types of doctors that you can target. So you can first say, okay, let's say I'm targeting, an ophthalmologist. So the first thing I would do is I'll say, what are the things ophthalmologists think about when they're prescribing medication to their patients, right? So they're probably thinking about, okay, I have patients that fall into 4 categories, glaucoma, cornea, retina, lens, whatever, okay? So then you say, okay, I'm gonna create things that they need to think about when they're working with glaucoma patients. So like, how can I better treat my glaucoma patient? You can create that experience. Ask them, or what type of drug should I give a glaucoma patient? You can ask them a set of questions about the types of patients they're getting, the types of drugs they're giving, and then you can show them, oh, you're giving them, this type of drug, then just have a comparison of this type of drug versus my drug. That would be like a specific, where you can show them, okay, this drug has this cost, and this is how many times you need to give it, and this is the clinical trial data about it, and you can compare it to your drug. So that would be one example. Another example could be, you can have an experience for doctors who are searching a lot on they usually look for WebMD style content. You can have them say a knowledge test. How much do you know about all the drugs available in the glaucoma for this type of disease? And so now the doctors are going to come in, answer a set of questions around the type of disease, and you'll then tell them, hey, you don't know enough about this drug, and you don't know enough about this thing because you didn't get these questions correct. So you can create knowledge tests to educate them about this, and then you can target and promote that content on WebMD and different sites. But the main thing I like to think about is, with these experiences is what are the specific diseases, or in her case it would be diseases, but in your case, like, what are the specific scenarios where your customer is engaging with, is trying to search and learn more about things, and how can you be there and be present and help them in that setting? Anyone else wants to take a deep dive into their business or industry? You can just yell out your industry. I won't ask you questions if you're not comfortable going through the same questions. Someone on this table. Yeah, there you go. What's your industry?
So I'm in beauty.
Beauty?
Yep. Specifically, the brands I work on are at-home hair color, but dyeing your hair yourself at home.
Dyeing your hair at home yourself. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make a few assumptions about that to help myself, to answer that, to kind of come up with ideas. So for beauty, a lot of the times people are dyeing their hair, and are they dyeing their hair just for fun? Is it for like a costume event?
Gray hair, covering gray hair.
Oh, covering gray hair. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm guessing you're targeting women who are between like 40 and 80. Just quick. Sorry, we're marketers, so we can do demographic breakdown. Is that okay? So women in that age group, you can think about like a fun, like let's say she wanted the top of the funnel, a fun way to engage women in that age group. You can have fun things around, like most of these people probably have, from young kids to like, kids in their teens and 20s. You can have things around like, what type of mom are you? Or, which, female mom celebrity are you most like? That would be like a fun experience just to engage them with your brand and make your brand associated with mothers, right? I think of that as a top of the funnel type strategy. But then you can have middle and bottom of the funnel things around like, how often should I dye my hair? Or, how much are you spending on dyeing your hair at a hair salon versus doing it on your own at home with your product? How long does it take to go to a hair salon and get it done versus doing it at home on your product? So you can show them comparisons like, hey, in a year you're going to save $1,500 by using our product, and you'll be able to show them based on like which hair salons they go to and how much they spend, things like that. So that would be another way to highlight that. And then you can have other things, and women in that age group can have a lot of different live events that are happening that you could potentially create quizzes or calculators or interactive tools around to help engage them. So I think you want to just think through, okay, top of the funnel things, middle of the funnel things I can do, and bottom of the funnel things I can do for that vertical. Or you could also do things with color, like what color should I dye my hair this week, or something. And then there's a lot of fun things you can do. What's any industry you can mention from this table?
I work for an airport.
Okay, cool. So interesting. So you basically are trying to encourage. You work in marketing for the airport?
Yeah, Tampa International Airport.
Nice. And so what are the main things you guys focus on? Is it trying to get more airlines to rent out space? Is it trying to get companies?
We focus on airlines, but we don't do much public marketing for that. That's more personal. We do a lot of community outreach, and our biggest product that we sell, I guess you would say, outside of just the airline relationship is parking.
Okay.
So our different short-term, long-term, and economy parking and valet.
Okay. Again, this was not a plant, but we have a lot for this specific use case because we actually work with a few companies that work in LA where they help manage the parking passes in LA airports. So what they do with us is they basically say, how much does it cost for you, because your alternative, so you can go to the airport, park, and then drive back, right? And then your alternative is usually to Uber. So what they have is basically a comparison calculator, which is like, should I Uber or should I park at the airport, right? And so they'll say, well, how many days are you traveling for? And which specific airport, because there's different parking lots, which terminal are you flying from? And then you can easily determine, oh, if you're parking for 7 days, a 7-day pass in LAX is $120 or whatever, and then the cost to Uber it back and forth is $30 each way, that's $60. So it makes sense to Uber. But if you're only going for 3 days, then the cost of their parking is $40, whatever. So you can give, that's an example that we've seen, and that's really a cool kind of calculator so people can think about that. Other things you can do is that, do you do partnerships with certain types of companies? Like when, if it's like the airline, people who are like commonly coming to park in airports, do you have a partnership with them, or like, is it mainly direct consumers coming who are
Not
flying?
really. Yeah, it's consumers.
It's consumers, yeah. So that one would be a perfect example.
Yeah, that's a great example.
But then you can do other things depending on what you're trying to highlight, which is like, for them, they specifically also have monthly and annual passes and different types of passes. So for a regular traveler, then instead of it just being, oh, for this specific trip, you can be like, oh, are you a regular traveler? Should you get a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, a 3-month plan, where they get like 3 months access ongoing to certain parking spots. So you can highlight those types of things as well. Like, how much can I save if I buy in bulk, passes in bulk? That's a great one. No problem. Any other table that wants to give me an example? Maybe this table has a lot of people. What industry? Anyone?
So in our industry, I work for Optum, we're the healthcare services arm of United Healthcare, and we sell software into hospitals, whether it be revenue cycle tools, population health tools, data analytics. So maybe along the lines of population health and data analytics to help make people healthier and to help hospitals make correct decisions with the analytics that they have.
Patients, like this type of drug impacts this patient in this way, or is it more like treatments, like this treatment did really well for, like, if you do, these people should go to surgery more often because this is doing well, but these people don't send them to surgery because this isn't being successful?
Actually, both.
Both, okay,
Right.
Cool, perfect. So for that example, what I would start with is like, who am I mainly selling to? So I'm guessing you're selling to the CIO of a hospital, is that right?
CO can be one of those folks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're selling it to them. So now I'd like to think a bit more about that person's mindset. So a top of the funnel experience would be around, oh, a CIO is trying to buy software to improve their hospital. So I might want to try to explain to them and say, how efficient is your hospital currently running? And so that would be something where you can say, hey, there's a lot of additional efficiencies that you can bring out by using our software, because you can tell them, hey, you're putting these people 3 days extra in a bed when it's not required based on our analysis, if that's something you guys kind of highlight. But you can have an efficiency type calculator. You can have a calculator that says, assess your treatment outcomes relative to other hospitals, because you could have like a general metric, whatever is within HIPAA guidelines, but you could have a guideline that says, oh, your hospital in terms of treatment outcomes is at the 65th percentile based on other hospitals, see where you can improve. And then you might give them a quick highlight and say, hey, you need to get our software to get details into how you can improve your treatment outcomes, because we're going to help you uncover and understand the data that you have underneath these massive, EHR systems. So that would be another example. And then you could have other examples which are like, if you have 2 products, one for different types of analysis, you can see like which type of plan should you start with. So different hospitals might have, one might not even have operating rooms. So maybe that one of the products you have is not relevant, and so you can basically help them think about which plans make the most sense for them.